walk, you already know how to walk, but learning all the steps that get you to do it without thinking is what's important. So that's what we're doing right now, is we're taking this back to its very, very basics. I call sight resolution the spare tire. Okay, it's a very important tool for every caller, but please note I said sight resolution, not sight calling. Sight calling is also an important tool, but it's a whole series of other sessions. The important tool for today has two purposes in calling. That's what are the purposes of sight resolution, and they are essentially, once you know a 100% reliable method of resolving a mixed up square, 99% of that self-imposed stress on new callers disappear, and they can focus their abilities on more important aspects of calling without that stress. New callers put so much stress on them to find that corner, and they work and they work and they work, but it's self-imposed. Once you learn one method and make it yours, you're going to see a whole world of possibilities open up as you begin to learn and focus on all these other aspects of calling, which are more important. I do want to put out there, there we go. Sight resolution can also be a crutch to many new callers. And that's in my opinion, and it's been restated by many callers. Sight resolution without a good foundation has been the ruination and the downfall of a lot of innovation, as well as the downfall of a lot of danceable choreography. For too long, the emphasis has been on just move the dancers around and then you can resolve them, without actually understanding movement mechanics, principles, formation management, all the other things that are important. Okay, sight calling is a powerful tool, but it's one that comes a little bit later in the learning list. There's a lot of stuff you have to know first. So knowing how to sight call does not mean you don't have to learn anything else. Okay. In sight resolution, there's numerous techniques and there's numerous variations on the themes of resolution. However, most of the variations are the two simplest methods which I'm going to present today. And they are the friends and enemies method, which is also referred to as the line method or the two-face line method, and the center box method. Both of these methods rely on pairing up a key couple, putting that key couple where you want them, and then seeing where the corner lady is in relation to that key couple that you paired up. I'll show you a simplified method, which means that the key couples are where you put them, the corner lady is where you put her, and the only option to success is to see if that corner lady has her partner or not. In the center box technique, seeing if the key man and the corner lady have eye contact refers to whether or not they are face to face, even if they're separated by their dancer. And we'll show that in the diagram a little bit later. After using either technique for a while, you'll begin to determine the corner lady pairing, meaning does she have her partner or not. After a while of using this, you're going to be able to start seeing that much earlier in the process, and then you start taking shortcuts. What I want you to focus on is don't rush, don't look for shortcuts, don't look for variations, don't look and say, oh, they're paired up, it doesn't matter who's on the outside, who's on the inside. That will come later. You have to learn the foundations first before you can find the shortcuts. Otherwise, all you've got is the shortcut and no foundation. As you go through this resolution process of learning, you're going to find solutions jumping out at you from everywhere. You're going to find resolutions so fast that you're going to wonder, why was I having so much trouble with this? It's very important that you get the process down first and make it yours. After that, the rest of it will all fall into place. Okay. Regardless of what method you choose, the key is to find out which one you are comfortable with and make it yours. I'm a big advocate of saying the best resolution technique is the one that works for you. Mine works for me, yours might be different, it works for you. Whatever works for you is yours, make it yours. Make sure you know it, confirm it every now and then, keep it handy, make sure it works, and hope to God you never have to use it, just like a spare tire on a car. So the big question comes up, why do I call sight resolution the spare tire? Well, think of it as an analogy. A car comes with 4 tires, engines, brakes, transmission, steering wheel, and a body, and all sorts of gadgets and gizmos to make it look flashy and good. And all those gadgets and gizmos have nothing to do with the car except make it look good and make you want to buy it. Now think of your car as a square dance caller, and the dancers as the passengers. Some of the cars are flashy and sporty, you know, others are reliable and comfortable. Others have different choices of color, interior design, tinted windows, etc., etc., etc. Essentially, however, they all perform one function, getting you from point A to point B. And the other thing that almost every vehicle has, and because it's a legal requirement, whether or not that vehicle has 3, 4, or 6 tires that are on the road, or if they're cross-country tires or logging tires, every vehicle's got to have a spare tire. And that is just in case something goes wrong. That's what site resolution is, a spare tire, just in case something goes wrong. You check it out every now and then to make sure it's inflated, but you generally leave it in the trunk or the boot if you're in Australia and hope you never have a flat tire and hope you never have to use it. It is, however, taken out as a rule. At some point, you will get a flat tire and you will need the spare tire to get you back on the road until you get your regular tire fixed. Nowadays, you know, spare tires are little tiny wheels, which are only good for about 50 Ks before you throw them up. You can't drive, you can't go any more than 50 Ks an hour, because if you do so, you're risking serious damage. Well, think of your spare tire as that resolution. It's there, it works, you have peace of mind, you know if it breaks down, you can do it, you can check it out, you can use it, and then you can get your tire fixed, get yourself back on the road. The same thing with the resolution technique. I personally recommend learning one resolution technique. I prefer the friends and enemies and mastering it before exploring any of the others. It's not mandatory that you as a caller follow that rule. Choose the methods that's most comfortable for you and the one in which you have the most confidence. When you've mastered it and it's yours, you're going to know that no matter where you are in a square, you can resolve. That's 90% of the stress gone. It's no different than getting ready for a road trip. You check the spare tire, yeah, it's there, it's working, great, you put it away, you don't even think about it anymore because there's so much other stuff to concentrate on for that trip. There's so much other stuff to concentrate on while you're calling. You don't have to worry about that spare tire of resolution. From this point in calling, you can add to your repertoire with practice, more practice, confidence. You can add to with modules. You can add to with all sorts of different things. And if ever you make a mistake, you've got that original spare tire to fall back on to get you out of trouble. In early 2002, I was preparing for a caller school that I was teaching in British Columbia. And I sent a message out, just a general email to a number of callers. And one of the best responses I received was actually from Daryl Clendenin, who wrote, "I don't believe a new caller has any business worrying about how to site resolve. From my years of experience teaching new callers, and they have plenty to learn about how to move new dancers, or how to move dancers." Now that's a direct quote that he gave me, and I've been using that ever since. I agree, and in a little bit, I disagree with what Daryl wrote. He's absolutely correct that there's plenty to learn without learning site resolution. He's also 100% correct that it's more important to learn what a movement does to recognize, manage basic formations, learn basic traffic pattern movements, or as he says it on the grid, what people call the chicken plucker traffic pattern. All of that is essential before any new caller really picks up the microphone to perform in front of people. Those are essential basic caller skills that you must have, and they're the first steps. Where Daryl and I often disagree is, my opinion, once they've learned those foundation skills, I think that's the best time to teach a resolution process. And the reason is only to take that stress off new callers. That's what new callers, for some reason, are fed, that it's so important to be able to resolve the square. And you see this all the time with new callers. They're up behind the microphone and the caller will say, "Head, square through 4, touch a quarter, centers trade, new centers, everybody hinge, new centers hinge, new centers hinge, okay, resolve." What? It's stress that you don't need. Any caller that does that to a new caller should be shot, unless that's what the exercise is. But for a brand new caller, that is just putting stress you don't need. Site resolution is very low on the toolbox for being a good caller. It is, however, such a pretty tool that everybody wants it. Everybody has to have it. Everybody wants to have one, so they got it in their toolbox. That's good. Get it, put it in your toolbox, make sure it's there, make sure it looks pretty, and every now and then take it out and use it. There's other tools that work a lot better for dancers. Okay, sight resolution is a very easy step-by-step process. It should be learned once a new caller knows how to move dancers and put them where they want them. Moving dancers smoothly requires a control of phasar, that's your formation, your arrangement, your sequence, your relationships, and formation that a new caller doesn't usually have. That another method, the reason, let me start that again. If you're going to move dancers around smoothly and effortlessly and know exactly where everybody is, you have to have really good knowledge of formation, arrangement, sequence, and relationship. Most new callers don't have that. So what you have is another method of control and resolution, such as modules and a resolution technique. Once you have that basic being able to move the dancers around, you can build on that foundation. And it's imperative that earlier on, a good portion of the time in the learning to call process is given to perfecting at least one method of sight resolution, which will lay the foundation for the caller to graduate from that K-tel paint by numbers calling to exploring to becoming a Da Vinci or a Renoir, to becoming who they are going to be as a caller in their own right. Okay, it takes time, and the stage of development is a long process, and it's going to vary from caller to caller, but rest assured that with a little effort and confidence, the caller's ability to resolve will happen. And just remember, a sight resolution is not a cure-all. It should not be a substitution for learning to call properly. It is a tool, and like all other tools, should be used exactly for what it's designed to do. It takes time and practice to achieve functionality, and starting at the ground level, so to speak, allows the new caller to build and grow in confidence. So a simple analogy is, if you build a good foundation, it's possible to build any house on it, or anything on it for that matter. Okay, so with the notes that I'm going to provide at the end of this presentation and the handouts, there's a one-page reference sheet, two-sided. You can print it out back to back and laminate it. I recommend you print it out and laminate it. It's just a quick guide to the 2 simple resolution techniques. And you notice there's a red box around them. That's the simplified method, and we'll go into this step by step. Okay. I took that off because you don't need to look at that yet. Okay. Now, I want to take us away from learning this to just focus on what we're trying to do as callers. And the best example that I got on that was somebody wrote an article once about, he called it silly math. But this is essentially what we're trying to do to new callers if we don't follow a process of learning and a process of starting small and building on a foundation. If you look at a square, if you look at all those positions in a square that you have on a grid with all the formations that are available, such as phantom whatevers, it's a 31 by 31 dot grid. If you look at each dancer, if one dancer can be in one position, that means there's 30 by 30 that every other dancer could be in any one of those. Trying to keep control of every single dancer is over 700 quintillion or whatever that number is, places that you're trying to teach new dancers. It's a daunting process. It's a stupid way of thinking of it. And it's fun only for the math. But why do we put dancers through that kind of stress, or callers through that kind of stress? We shouldn't. What we do is we start simplifying it. And that's what this whole process that we're talking about is, simplifying it. If we take a basic traffic pattern, which is, that chicken plucker, what you've got is 8 places where dancers can be, and they can be facing any one of the 4 walls. So you've got an 8 by 8 grid, or sorry, a 2 by 4 grid, and an ability to face 4 walls. That gives you 961 different options. It's still a lot. For the remaining dancer, 961. For the remaining dancer, they could be in any one of those places. So when we put all that together, wow, it's an abstract that we just do not need. That is what? So on a 2 by 4 grid, that's 65,536 different possibilities. That includes the asymmetric T-bones and all of that. Again, the mind boggles. Says, why would we do that to ourselves? Why would we even try doing that to ourselves? It's silliness. So this is why early on we learn basic things such as symmetry. That helps us simplify. We manage the dancers through symmetry, and what that does is that takes half of the square away because we understand the principle of mirror opposites. So where one dancer is, if the headman is here, the opposite headman is in the opposite formation or the mirror opposite position. What that does, that takes it down from all those hundreds of thousands of positions to 196,000 positions. Still a lot. So the question is, why am I even spending time on this? Because it's important that you understand that calling is a very complex thing. But like things that are complex, each part of calling is quite simple. It's not easy, but it's simple to learn. And the simplicity is foundation. Foundation first. The reason we don't worry about all those numbers and the silly math is that when callers are calling, they work on one formation at a time, and the dancers in a formation can only be in one of 8 spots. That really helps bring the management of a formation down. If we have a known formation, we're only concentrating on, one of those 5 basic formations, a line, a box, etc. Then, and we take out all the T-bones and all those transition formations, it becomes quite easy. You've got your basic formations, a line, an 8 chain through, a double pass through, waves, and columns. Ooh. Arrangement, there's only 6 possible arrangements. Sequence, boys in, girls in, girls out, boys out, girls in, boys out. Relationship, boy with partner, corner, opposite, or right-hand lady. And one of 4 walls they're facing. It still can get quite complex because that, just leaving that out, that leaves us with 384. So, as I said, well, actually, as Daryl said, and I stole from him, calling is simple. It's not easy. So let's make it even more simple. Prior to any sight calling, and that includes resolution, which is what we're talking about, you need to memorize key couples. Okay? That way you have access to the information that's necessary to resolve the square. Axiom 2. Get the dancers symmetric. If you have to, you may have to call something abstract. Generally, they're only going to be symmetric if the dancers are asymmetric, if the dancers have made a mistake or you've done something intentionally. So that's the first thing. Get them symmetric. Get to a familiar standard sex arrangement. In other words, normalize. Pair up a key couple. Determine where the other couple, usually the secondary couple, is in relation to the paired couple, and choose a get-out strategy. Okay. That works for every resolution technique there is. That's what you're doing. You may not know you're doing it, but that's essentially what happens. Those are true axioms, and they all work that way. By doing that, you're translating the formation, the arrangement, the sequence, or whatever you need to get to a get out or a place that you know where it is, and then you can call your memorized get out. That simplifies it even more down to knowing where you want them, in whatever formation you want them, and then calling something you memorized. As I said, we want to make it simple. Even that is too complex because that gives us 8 options with a whole bunch of different sequences that we can use from each option. What if someone told you that in reality, sight resolution can be learned with only recognizing where one person is and using 2 little modules that will resolve a broken square or a mixed up square, not a broken square, 100% of the time? That's the beauty of these 2 resolutions. So first, let's get the first question. What's the best resolution technique for new callers? That's like asking how long is a piece of string or how much water does a jar hold? Well, it's as long as you make that string or as short as you want it. And as for containers, it's up to you what you want to put in it, how big it is. With caller resolution techniques, it's the one that the caller chooses to make his or her own. That's the best resolution. We're going to pick or show 2. We're going to start with first the friends and enemies method. The friends and enemies, actually they both are, but the friends and enemies method is a 5-step method which is simple and easy to use. It follows a process of normalizing to a right hand two-face line. How we get there, we'll go through that. But that's essentially what you do, is you get to a right-hand two-face line. When you're ready to resolve the square, you normalize and you get them into that formation. How you get them there really doesn't matter. Okay, so for instance, if you're in a box or an ocean wave, you can go swing through, boys run. We're in a standard right-hand two-face line. If we're in facing lines, slide through, right and left through, veer left. If we're in a column, the standard column, all 8 circulate, boys run, veer left. You know, that's a little awkward, but that's just to get you into that formation. From a trade by, swing through, boys run. Or sorry, trade by formation. Trade by, swing through, boys run. A quarter tag, extend, swing through, boys run. A double pass through, centers pass through, swing through, boys run. You notice there's a lot of simplicity in that because you use pretty much the same thing all the time. After the slide through, I could call swing through, boys run. After the normal column, all 8 circulate, boys run, swing through, boys run. Whatever method you use to get to that two-face line, is what works. There's all sorts of different things about formation management and moving dancers and pairing up key couples. You can do acey-deucey methods, all those other kinds of things. Don't worry about those yet. Those are shortcuts. Those will come later. Okay. Step 2 is you pair up the key man with his partner using circulates or trades to get them facing out. Okay. If the key couple is not facing out, just call couple circulate. Okay. In two-face line, no dancer is ever more than 2 circulates away from being with their original partner, and you can use the circulates and trades to get them where you want. Be flexible, however. Use combinations like ends circulate, centers trade, or centers trade and couples circulate, or all 8 circulate, or even ends trade. Remember, single-use combinations such as ends circulate, centers trade is a lot nicer to dance than saying outside dancers circulate 3 positions. Then you give away to the dancers exactly what you're doing. Step 3, call bend the line. That's it, no more. That is a step. Once you've got them in that two-face line and you've got the key couple paired up facing out, call bend the line. Now there's a lot of ways to get to where you are now, facing lines with that key couple paired, but again, take a step back, force yourself to use the resolution technique step by step by step. Once you've got that down, you're going to find this place is going to jump out at you left, right, and center. Once you understand the basic technique, then you can skip the first 2 steps. But until then, take it step by step by step by step. Force yourself to use the 5-step method for one purpose, confidence building, so that you know no matter where you are, you can resolve a square. Step 4, check the friends and enemies. Friends are, when you identify a square, you're always taught to identify your key couple, usually couple number 1, and the corner couple, couple number 4. So the friends and enemies is only a reference to say, I remember who my friends are, that's my corner couple, and if they're my friends, the right-hand couple must be enemies. That's all it is. It's just a mnemonic to help you remember who you're looking at. Okay. So you paired up the key couple at this point. You know where they are because you put them there. The mirror aspect already assures you that you've got at least 2 couples paired because you paired up the key couple. That means the other head couple has to be paired. And they're where you put them because if you put one there, the mirror aspect says the other couple has to be on the other side. In simple terms, caller paired up the key couple, put them on the left side of the line facing in. So now we know where they are. I don't have to think about them anymore. The mirror aspect says the other half of the line is doing exactly the same, so I don't have to think about anybody on the other side anymore. Only 2 dancers are now important in the resolution, and they are the 2 dancers directly opposite the key couple. And the next step of part 4 is to identify friends or enemies. So if you've got 2 friends, that means you've got the side couple or the number 4 couple directly opposite them. If you've got 2 enemies, you've got the right-hand couple directly opposite. If you've got the friend boy, you've got the number 4 boy and his opposite lady, or you've got the corner lady, the friend girl, and her opposite. Those are the only 4 options you have. Unless, of course, you've been using asymmetric choreography or the dancers made an error. Okay. It requires a lot of practice to do this, but it's a very, very worthwhile. Recognition of who is standing opposite becomes much simpler once you develop the confidence and you believe that the rest of the square is where you put them, because you're no longer having to worry about where everybody else is. You can ignore them and you're only looking across the square to see who's where. Trust yourself, it works. Okay? And you notice this little green box? Okay, it says that's around friend. That deals with the corner lady, and I'll show you. But to simply put it simply, if the corner lady or that friend lady is not there, call pass through and bend the line, because that puts her where it is. And now you're ignoring 7 dancers. You only have to worry about 1 person. Does she have her partner or not? Step 5 is call the appropriate get out. So remember what I said? You paired up the key couple, forget about them. Symmetry means you know where the opposites are, forget about them. You know where the corner girl is because you put her directly opposite your key couple, forget about her. Only 1 dancer remains, and that is, does she have her partner or not? Everyone else is exactly where you put them. And your options are, quite simply, if you've got 2 friends, you call, if the corner is there and she has her partner, 2 friends, star through, pass through, Alaman left. If she's there and she does not have her partner, star through. That's not right. That's not right. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, that slide is incorrect. Okay, if it's 2 enemies, different story. Where are we here? Let me just correct that. Yeah. If that bottom one that's in the circle, that should say pass through, wheel and deal. Centers pass through, Alaman left. I will correct that slide. It is correct in the text. Okay, so if she is there and paired, slide through, square through 3. Let's just get rid of that slide because that's wrong. If she's not there, or sorry, if she's there and she's got her opposite, then it's pass through, wheel and deal, centers pass through. My apologies for that. I will have that corrected before I send it out. Literally, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of possible resolutions to a square. The only limitation, however, is the creativity of the caller. You're going to be able to build and build and build the more you try this and the more you practice. This system will always work, and it makes a good starting point to build. But it's important to use a variety and change and get in the new resolutions. Otherwise, the dancers begin to recognize the formations and the get out processes, and you lose that ability of the happy surprise. But what you've got to do is start small and then build upon it. When you start small, you can build big. So learn the foundation first, master the techniques of that 1-person resolution. That means pairing up the key couple, getting them in the line, bend the line, look who's opposite. If the corner lady is not there, put her there. After that, you're resolving off 1 person. The second is the center box method, or the box resolution technique. Okay, and it's usually done from a double pass-through formation. For many callers, this is the easiest way to resolve a square as opposed to the friends and enemies, because they're used to looking at squares and boxes. As I said before, the best one is the one that works for you. And I recommend that new callers choose one system and learn to master it before moving another. That way they have the confidence and their options become finer tuned and more fluid when they're presenting it to dancers. So how it works is a simple resolution strategy. You get to a standard double pass-through formation with an outside couple paired. Then you resolve the center 4. And again, you've got exactly the same 4 possibilities. They're either paired, they're not paired, or sorry, they're paired, they're paired and looking at their corner, they're paired and not looking at their corner, they're not paired looking at the corner, or they are paired and looking at their corner. It's exactly the same options. And just like the friends and enemies, the process is the same. Normalize the dancers and get into a standard arrangement in any formation. You pair up one of your key couples in any formation. You can use various movements appropriate to whatever formation they're in. While keeping them paired, you call them into a double pass-through. The easiest way of doing that is usually a Ferris wheel. And then you get the outside, the paired couple on the outside. If they're not there, call Zoom. My slides have got edited. Okay. Sorry, we jumped ahead here. One second, I'm just trying to get you back to where you, okay. So step 2, you put the dancers into facing lines. You know, you can call a flutter wheel, ladies chain, pass through, bend the line, pairing up those key couples. Parallel waves, use a circulate or a star through, anything along that line. Columns, you can call columns circulate, boys run. Wherever you move to pair them up, and then you can call face in, you can call a couple circulate, pair them up so one's behind the other, the ladies behind the men. Face in, boys run if they're holding hands. A double pass through, from a double pass through you can call ladies zoom, boys zoom, center zoom, not center zoom, sorry, don't do that, or just zoom. You can call a double pass through and cloverleaf to pair them up. Use whatever you need to pair up these dancers. Personally, I recommend using parallel waves or two-face lines. Some people call that the AC-Doocy method, but it's the easy way of pairing up key dancers, and it's exactly the same as any other technique. Step 3 is to get them into the double pass-through formation. So if they're in facing lines, you can use pass-through, wheel, and deal. If they're in parallel boxes or an 8-chain-4 position, pass to the center or a dive through. If they're in two-face lines, use a Ferris wheel. That is the most common method. If they're in columns, you can call circulate, boys run, pass to the center, or any combination that puts them into that double pass-through. And if they're in a double pass-through, you can use a boy zoom, a girl zoom, or just a zoom. Step 4 is to identify where those center 4 dancers are. Okay, you've got the paired couple on the outside, so now we're only looking at the center 4, because I know the other side has a paired couple because of symmetry. And if they're not paired, you look to see if the corner girl is facing. By facing, I don't mean face to face. I mean they're looking at each other across. There's going to be a couple between them. If they're not facing, call it right and left through. That way, the outside man is looking at his corner. If they're not paired, the corner girl is not paired, not facing the key man. If they are paired, in other words, if the centers are paired, that corner lady has her partner and she's in the center, she can either be facing the outside couple, the outside key couple, or not. If the dancers don't fit into one of those 4 patterns, then you either called something asymmetrical or you've made a mistake. If that happens, just choose the nearest option, sort it out. Don't waste a lot of time moving the dancers around. Just let them sort it out themselves. So this is a much easier way of saying it. When I call into a double pass-through formation, I've got my paired couple on the outside, so that's my key couple number 1, and they're making eye contact with the corner lady. So number 1 man is corner lady. That's eye contact because they're facing. Don't worry about these people. If that's the case, centers pass through. The simplified version, if she's not there, call right and left through to get her there with those centers. That will put you in this position. She is either paired or not paired. If she's paired, centers pass through, swing through, right and left grand. That's the simplified version of those 2 methods. Okay, so just like the friends and enemies technique as well, there's a simplified option when you get there. When you get to the double pass through and the paired couple on the inside, if he's not looking at his corner, call centers right and left through. That again means you've only got 2 options to resolve the square on whether or not that center lady is paired or not. As with the friends and enemies method though, if you choose that one, start with a simplified option. Okay, whichever version you choose, start with the simplified option. Put the corner lady where you want her. That way you've only got 2 options. And then you build from there. That way you're only resolving on where one dancer is, and everyone else is exactly where you put them by default. The ideal is to pick a technique that works for you. My apologies for stumbling over a lot of that. I did note that I made some mistakes on a couple of those slides, and I will have those fixed before I post them. How do I stop sharing? There it is. Oh my goodness. Okay, so what I wanted to do is I'm going to open up the chat, but first, Mark, were there any questions there other than that slide is wrong, which I know it was wrong, or?
Nope, you did such a good job explaining it. Nobody
or I've confused everybody. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring terminations up for new callers and really show how this system works. So what I need to do here is we'll just start with one of the systems. But before I do that, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Mel, I've probably got one, and it's just a comment because I've got that notes from before when you're in Adelaide. One thing I found with the centre box resolution, when you've got them paired in the middle, as a female caller, we have to actually do it the opposite way round for the resolution.
Yeah. So, now, as a female caller, generally what the principle is the same.
Yeah.
What you're looking at, because you're looking at the outside lady is looking to see if the opposite man is in the center. But the principle is exactly the same. If you pair up the outside couple and they're on the outside, if that right-hand lady, or sorry, if the outside lady is not looking at her corner, just call her right and left through. That way she will be looking at a corner. But you're absolutely right. The principle is the same. If you're calling from a lady's perspective, you're looking at the center man rather than the center girl. If you're pairing them up and putting dancers where you want, you're doing exactly the same. It's just you're putting the man where you want them instead of the girl. All the other 7 dancers are going to be exactly where you put them, and so you can forget about them. Paired couple on the outside, forget about them. You've already got them there because you put them there.
Yep.
Corner man is there, so the opposite man is there. Everybody else is where you put them. All you have to do is see, is he paired or not?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just when they're paired in the middle, you know, where you've got paired eye contact, centers pass through, swing through, right and left grand.
Yeah.
If you've got eye contact, I have to look at no eye contact for that. And for the other one, your 4th one, paired no eye contact, I've got to look the other way. I've got to look as though, because from a female, it's a different perspective, if you get what I mean. So it's just something for the females to be aware of, that they need to look opposite just on those 2. Do you get me or not?
Yeah. Does everybody understand what Roz is saying there?
Not really, no.
Okay.
And what was different for a female caller or a male one?
Let's look at it this way.
If you pull up that slide where you've got the box resolution.
Okay. Can you all see terminations on your screen?
Yeah.
All right. Yep.
Okay. So. Do you work with the side couples or the head couples, or does it really matter?
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Okay. let's do this differently then.
It's just something I found when I got your notes from when you're in Adelaide. I thought, this isn't working. I have to look different because I'm a female.
Okay, so what she's saying is on the center box technique, if we're
It's
in
when
this,
they're paired in the middle.
yeah, I'm just taking right back to basics.
Okay, yeah.
Lady callers will look at the number 2 lady or the number 4 lady, whichever one they choose, and they look to see if they've got eye contact with the corner, in this case, the number 3 man. If that's the case, they would call a flutter, a center's pass-through. Male callers would look at, the outside man and see, is that his corner in the middle? And call a center's pass-through. Where it's different is on centers, when the center dancers are paired. So let's just have that.
Yeah. I usually look at 1 lady and 2 men.
Okay, so if we're in this kind of a formation, this is what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so she's looking here. If we look at the man, the way the basic setup is, and it was done like this because when it was written, it was mainly male callers.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
If they're paired, what we've got is centers pass through. Because I have eye contact. Swing through. And a right and left grand.
Yeah.
From a lady's perspective, if they are paired like this, it's exactly the same. If they have eye contact with the friend, in this case 2 and 1, this is my key couple, this is my friend couple, or my corner couple, it's still centers pass through, swing through, right and left friend. Okay. The idea is exactly the same. When they're not paired, when they're
Al,
not,
sorry to interrupt. But instead of the swing through to right and left grand, wouldn't you do swing through, turn through to the yellow man left?
there,
Corner?
like I said, there are a number of options available. Like I said, what the memorized get, if you're more comfortable with that, then you can use that one, absolutely. You can call, what you're doing is you're setting up a basic, this is the way the initial very basic one was written. Swing through, turn through, Alaman left is a variation of that get out. If you want to make all your resolutions to Alaman left, absolutely. Now, what Roz is saying, you find it more comfortable when they're not looking at each other. Is that correct, Roz?
Oh yeah, not looking. Oh no, maybe I worked it wrong. I don't know. When I tried it, I found I had to look at the opposite to what you had. You know, where you've got centers pass through, swing through, right and left grand, or no eye contact, centers pass through, right and left through, swing through, right and left grand.
Yeah.
I found I had to reverse it because my eye contact was different.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to reverse it because if you're looking at a corner, if you're looking at a corner is still going to be a corner.
Roz, which couple are you treating as your primary couple?
I'm treating number 1 couple as primary and number 2 as my secondary. So I look at the.
That's why you've got the reverse.
Okay. So
is that? I look at number 1 girl and number 2 man. Right. Okay. So 1 and 2.
Okay. So what you've got is if I. So if I have from here.
Yeah.
Okay. There's the number 1 man. Or sorry, the number 1 lady.
Girl. Yeah.
There's her corner.
So I'm looking, but number 1 man is not looking at his corner.
That's correct.
So we're the opposite. Can you see what I mean?
Yep. Sorry, I was taking it so you putting the number 2 as your key couple. Number 2 is your opposite couple. So what you're saying is from here, paired couple on the outside.
Yep.
If I do here, number 1 man is not looking at his corner from a man's point of view, or male caller's point of view.
Yes, right.
I would call a right and left through. I'm taking it back. Sorry, centers. I got my key couple on the outside. The number 1 man is facing his corner. This should be a centers pass through.
Nope.
Swing through, right and left grand.
Right.
Now what you're saying is,
Now look at number 1. I'm not looking at my corner.
yeah,
Number one girl.
lady, because you're not looking at your opposite. You have to do it. So what you have to do is you have to change it so that she is, so centers right and left through, and you do the, sorry, right. Okay, and then you use the other one, pass through, right and left through, swing through, right and left grand. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just have to adjust it being a female.
Now, being female, the way the simplified version is opposed. So what you do is looking at it from a female's point of view. From a male's point of view, you're looking at if the corner is there. From a female
Yep.
point of view, if you're using the lady, then you say, right, if the corner man is not there, you do the centers pass through, swing, is not there. You
No
push
eye
it,
contact, you do pass
That's
through,
right.
swing through, right and
pass
left
through, swing
grand.
through, right and left grand.
And eye contact centers pass through,
Correct.
right and left through, swing through, right and left grand. Yeah. I had to put a note on your notes from before to remind me because I was female.
No, absolutely
But I
correct.
thought I'd just bring it up because otherwise females might have trouble.
But that's because, Ros, because you've chosen to have your primary and secondary couples out of sequence by choosing the number 1 lady and then having somebody to her corner side. That's the opposite direction. So that gives you that reversal. That's why it's occurring.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Julianne is saying it's an artificial level of complexity. Yes, it is. For lady callers, trying to use techniques that were written basically for callers and imposed on callers. When these techniques were written, most callers were men and they were written from a man's point of view. And that's the perspective. What Roz is saying, and it's a very, very valid point, we have a lot more lady callers than we ever had before. And they have to, just like God created women to dance backwards, lady callers have to think backwards. And when I say God created women to dance backwards, if you call in round dancing, forward 2-step, which way is the lady going? Backwards. Left turning box, which way is the lady going? Right, you know. Ladies have to interpret twice as much and work twice as hard as men. The reason that is that way is because ladies are capable of doing twice as much and working twice as hard as men without the same stress that men have. Men are simple. That's gonna great. Men are simple creatures. We can usually achieve one thing at once, but ladies can think that way. But it is absolutely correct what you're saying, Roz. You just have to transpose it. Are there any other questions?
I might suggest something. I know it's old and you probably already covered it. I did have to get up and back up and that aside. Basically what you're doing is you've got everybody with their partners out of sequence, right? So any place that they're going to be going across that grid where they're with their partner out of sequence, that would include a quarter tag formation.
Yep.
You could swing through, everybody face partner, right and left grand.
Yep. And that's,
you know,
that's
any
a variation
place along there is going to work.
Yep. And this is exactly what was being said at the beginning. Once you start looking at this, you'll notice, as Daryl said, everybody's out of sequence. You can set that up in a quarter tag and call it everybody face partner right and left grand. There are 100,000 or more options that are going to start jumping out at you. The basic principle is, however, to get them into that pairing and set them where you want them to be. Once you learn to do this and walk yourself through the process from start to finish at a basic level, then you're going to see these things jumping out at you left, right, and center. If I go centers pass through, I still haven't relatively changed where they are. They're still out of sequence. They're still working on the grid. If I go pass through, they're still out of sequence and on the grid. If I go trade by, they're still out of sequence and on the grid. All of these things aren't going to change. There's going to be 100 things that jump out at you. But if we do something like this,
Go into line.
okay. Now we're into all sorts of, I have no idea where anybody is. A lot of you do, and you can see all this. But for new callers, you're going, okay, what do I want to do? And for new callers, the idea, I'm going to use the center box method here. So if we follow through that process, the first thing to do is to normalize. So to normalize this means to put them into a couple. So that's boy on the left, girl on the right. A good place to do that for here would be boys run. Oops, sorry, hang on. Don't know what happened there. Why is this not working? Ah. So if I normalize, then I've got to get them into a standard type formation that I like. So that might be facing lines. I've got facing lines. Then I want to pair up my key couple. My key couple is number 1 up here. So I pair up my key couple. Doesn't matter what formation I'm in the center box method. I'm just doing this step by step. I flutter wheel. I've now paired up the key couple. I now have to get them into
Sequence.
Sorry?
Sorry, carry on. Sorry. Talk.
No. I now have to get them into a double pass through type formation. So and I get my key couple to the outside. They're already on the outside. So now all I have to do is I have to look and see, is his corner looking at him? The simplified method is no, he is not. So I will call centers right and left through. What that means is that person is where I put them. That person is where I put them. Symmetry says those people are where I put them. Symmetry says I don't have to worry about these people because they're where I put them. And the corner lady is there. I only have to look to see one person. That's that corner partner, that corner person. She's paired. I have one option. Pass through.
Swing through.
Swing through. Or as Darren said, turn through Alaman left. Okay. And that will work 100% of the time. It doesn't matter what kind of mixed up arrangement or lost you are, that will work 100% of the time. And the same principle applies to the friends and enemies or the line method, because essentially they are pretty much exactly the same method. And all of the other resolutions that you have, putting them into a quarter tag and calling this, or putting them into parallel boxes and calling this or that, they all come from, at one point or another, taking it back to its basics of pairing up a key couple, putting them where you want to, and then seeing what you have. After a long time of practice, you're going to start seeing these relationships and saying, oh, well, if nobody is there, or if I'm a right-hand lady box, I can call A, B, C, and D. But the principle of getting there is exactly the same, and it all comes from one of these basic methods. And the one it usually comes from is the friends and enemies technique, or the two-phase line method. Are there any questions? Comments, queries, points?
I want to say one thing on the, for you guys, especially you new dancers, I mean the new callers rather, you're in an area where you got a lot of callers, you're going to find out that when you call that right and left through for the center, there's going to be a bunch of callers that will tell you don't do that. Yep. But just remember, this is the basic, so it's just getting you started. Don't let them mess you up.
Yeah, and absolutely correct. You know, instead of calling right and left through, pass through, why wouldn't you just call square through 3? Well, because eventually that's another technique that you've learned that's called equivalence. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But you can't call an equivalent until you learn how to do the basics. You will have already learned a lot of this stuff, and you'll learn to see it. This is why I'm saying the hardest part about doing this is going back to the very, very basic and forcing yourself to use it to know that it works. As Darren said, instead of calling swing through right and left grand, I can call swing through turn through Alaman left. Instead of calling right and left through pass through, I can call square through 3. Instead of calling right and left through, I can call something else. Instead of calling star through, I can call something else. All of that comes with time and technique. But once you have the basics, you can plug those parts of the equation in at any time. Are there any new callers that would like to try this technique out? Any experienced callers that would like to try this technique out?
I'm using this technique.
I'm getting flashes on the chat, but from Denise, I wouldn't call square through 3 to a swing through. No, that's another part of learning. And you're absolutely right. You'd probably put a do-si-do to an ocean wave, he says, just to annoy Barry. Where are you, Barry?
Left square through 3 instead.
Yeah, you could call a left square through 3 and all those other kinds of. I wouldn't call a do-si-do to an ocean wave unless I'm actually setting up something. But you're right, you wouldn't call square through 3 and swing through. But that's something else that new callers have to learn, is formation management, hand availability, flow mechanics. As I said, these are basic techniques that they all stem from. It's a spare tire to sit in the back of the car if you ever get into real trouble that you know works, because there's things like flow mechanics, right hand to right hand, left hand to left hand, that are more important to learn when you're calling dancing. Learning how to use modules, learning how to move dancers around, learning how to give good flow and good sequencing. All of that is very, very important. Your performance, your delivery, your timing. There's so much to concentrate on as a new caller. Why would you try and put yourself under the stress of trying to learn, hundreds of resolution techniques? Learn one. Once you've learned it, you're going to see everything else jumping out at you so fast.
And one of the simple things for not wanting to do right and left through in the middle for Dan is you pass through right and left through, pass to the center. So you just use a small module to reverse to equal the right and left through, and it would flow in smoother dancing.
Yep. And that's substitutions and equivalence. That's another calling skill that needs to be learned long before you learn sight calling and manipulation. That's just substitution, which you use in modules all the time.
And something I've learned on a difficult path, it usually doesn't matter where you put the right and left through. If you put it in the center, okay, and then a pass through, or if you have a pass through first and then the right and left through, the result is about the same thing. It's just what you want to achieve. You want to change the sequence of the dancers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the right and left through does it anytime.
No, no.
Yeah. Karen Rabe just put into the chat, when dancers become asymmetric, there's good algorithms like site resolution. Are there good site resolution algorithms? Yes, there are. That is a whole different session on calling when you start looking at asymmetric resolution. But there are a lot of really, really good, simple asymmetric resolutions. There was a very good presentation given in the ACF thing with that. I'm trying to get that person to come and present here on simple asymmetric resolutions. I believe, Barry, I know you're in there somewhere. I can't see you lost in the crowd, but I believe Barry's going to be putting an article out on asymmetric resolutions. He's been running a series over the last few years on asymmetrical solutions and asymmetrical calling in Behind the Mic. But that is a session which is going to be very different than what we're actually talking about here. That's a whole different set of techniques. But the one thing that I would really like to point out, if you look, you should still have terminations up there, I hope.
But while you're doing that, another simple answer for her question is, if the dancers have made a mistake and you have a number of squares out there, it doesn't matter. They know they made the mistake, so just go ahead and resolve.
And that's why I said right at the beginning, if they are asymmetrical, pick the one that's closest to the solution you want and go for it. All you got to do is right and left grand or take your partner promenade, give them a couple of extra seconds at home. They'll forgive you. Even if it was their mistake, they'll still forgive you.
Yeah.
Because dancers don't make mistakes. I always try to teach new callers and experienced callers. If something goes wrong in the square, blame the caller. That's what they get paid for. Never blame your dancers. Okay, so what I was looking at is if we look at how we're going to move the dancers. So if I do, did somebody just start giving me, just start there and just a whole bunch of calls at random. So next call. Anybody? Sorry?
Spin the top.
Next call.
Right and left through.
Can't do it from
Recycle.
Are we normal?
I'm not worried about it. I just want you to move the dancers.
Oh, pass through.
Pass through.
Tag the line out.
Tag the line. Face out. Yeah. Centers trade. Good. Okay. Watch where the dancers are moving here. Okay. So see that grid, that basic 2x4 traffic pattern? They're still in that 2x4 pattern. They're still moving. They're still moving. They're still moving in that traffic pattern. They're still moving on that grid. And their orientation is still that way. I haven't gone this way. So it doesn't really matter what you do, where you put the dancers, they're going to be moving either along the head walls or along the side walls in that grid. I'm not worried about sequence. I'm not worried about arrangement. I'm worried about working the formation the dancers are in, and I'm worried about can they do that movement that I call from their arrangement. Is it like I can't do a right and left through if they're half sashayed? I shouldn't do a right and left through if they're half sashayed at plus, but that's an argument for a different session. That's just a personal opinion. but I can move them along that basic traffic pattern. So the techniques work if, regardless of what you are, how we are or where we are, I have not called anything asymmetrical. So regardless of how it is, I don't know where any of the dancers are. I don't know what their sequence is. I don't know their relationship. All I know, and in this case, I don't even really know this formation.
And you don't, and it doesn't matter.
And that's right, it doesn't matter. The first step on both of them are exactly the same. The first step is to normalize the dancers. Get to a boy-girl relationship somewhere. So how would I get to a boy-girl relationship here somewhere?
Ends cross run.
Sorry?
Ends fold me.
I could do ends fold, I could do centers pass through, I could do all sorts of things.
Ends cross run.
Ends. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I now have facing lines. Great. Now I want to let's use the friends and enemies. Okay, so I want to pair up. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to get to, hang on, just pull up my little sheet here.
Two-faced line.
Yeah.
Photograph.
I want to normalize, which I've done, and then I want to get them to a two-faced line. So what's a good way of getting into a two-faced line from here?
Start through, veer left.
Go.
That will get you to a two-faced line, but it's not the smoothest choreography.
Yeah, yuck. Why not pass the ocean and do a swing through boy run?
Circle 4 3/4 and veer left.
Okay, so you had 3 different options there. The options are only limited by your imagination. Okay, the next step is to pair up the key couple. My key couple in this case is couple number 1.
Girls circulate twice.
I could have done boys circulate twice. I could have done girls circulate twice. And there's probably a dozen or so other options.
Wow.
The question was, are new callers answering or experienced callers? It's a bit of both, Denise. Okay, so the next step in this is to get them to the end of the two-face line facing out. Oh, look at that. They're already there. Half the time, they're already going to be there because there are only 2 options. They're either on the end facing out or they're facing in. So you've already got 50% of that thing done just by pairing them up. The next step, called Ferris wheel. And here, what we want to do, we want the simplified method. No, we're not. That's the solution. I don't want a solution. I want the technique. The solution is I need to put that corner lady. So she's looking at her. Oh, sorry, I switched techniques, didn't I?
Yeah. Squiffy free.
my apologies. I switched techniques halfway through that.
Yes.
Did anybody else notice that?
Call us through.
Yep.
Hang on. So we were here. Let's go past the ocean. Swing through. Boys run. Then we had the girls circulate twice. Yeah, I was doing the two-face line or the friends and enemies. Step 3 is bend the line. Okay, nothing else. That's it. Well, I know where number 3 couple is because I put them there, so I no longer have to worry about them. The next thing I want to do is I want to put, is that his corner lady? No. So I put his corner lady across from him. I'll pass. Pass through, bend the line. Okay, so she's across from him because I put her there. They're there because I put them there. These guys are there because I put them there. I don't have to worry about her. I don't have to worry about him. All I have to do is look and say, is that her partner or not? that's not the number 4 man, I have, my option is pass through, wheel and deal, centers, pass through. I have one option to resolution, and I have one person that I'm actually worried about. It doesn't promenade.
How many movements was that from the point that we were at normal facing or normal couples in those facing lanes?
It is.
No, I think up there before we did the ends cross and run. That's where we took off from, isn't it?
Yep. The issue there, Daryl, and I know exactly where you're getting. There's an argument that says you're really only 3 calls away from an Alaman left, and that's true. That's not what this is teaching you. This is a spare tire. Learning where you are in relation to the other dancers, that's something that comes on later unless you start by using mental image or the processing. What this does is,
I just think a process that takes 10 movements to get to something seems to be awfully long to me.
We're not calling. What we're doing is we're pairing up. We're getting him to a point. We're calling bend the line. We're looking and we're calling something that's memorized. It's 5 steps, and it's 5 steps at work. We're not trying to memorize 10 movements.
Okay.
What we're memorizing is a sequence that will work. It's a 5-step sequence. How you get there really doesn't matter. Once you get to that paired up key couple and put them where you want, everything after that is either bend the line or Ferris wheel, depending on which technique you are, looking, and one option. I'm just simplifying it down to one answer right now.
I don't have any problem with it working, and I'm sure you're right where learn one method and don't worry about the others until later. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And center, circulate twice, bend the line is bad flow. Yes, it is, Denise. A lot of these things, what you're looking at is doing the technique. It's the same as calling right and left through, square through 3, or right and left through, and then a swing through. That is other things that have to come into play. What we're learning is the technique. At this point in time, what you will have is you will have things to say left square through 3, swing through. You will already have all these things. Going back to the basics of the technique is pair up the key couple, get them where you want, put that corner lady where you want, and call one option. That option that you call can have a variation. Those are the shortcuts. Those are the variations that we learn after the fact. Instead of calling right and left through pass through, you can call square through 3. Instead of swing through right and left grand, you can call swing through turn through Alaman left.
Now, if I could, it's probably best practice though that while you're doing the technique, to practice your while you're learning, of course, practice your hand availability, look for your body flows and things like that. It's best practice to incorporate that into there. So when you're actually live doing this, you're being conscious of that. So this is stuff to work out with your dolls, not with real life dancers at a dance. This stuff you work out in advance, so you've got it. So yeah.
What I'm showing in this sequence, for instance, is not a matter of where and how and what calls you have to call to get to a point. What I'm showing is
method.
The method. That's exactly right, Rod. It's the method.
If we're talking the 2-face line technique, or the friends and enemies technique, what we're saying is call good flowing choreography to get them to this position. The key couple paired up on a two-faced line on the outside facing out. And after that is bend the line. And then you look and see. In this case, I've got two enemies. Star through, pass through, Alaman left. That's it. There's no other options. Sorry, there are lots of other options, but in the technique, there aren't. If I'm in this kind of a situation, what I call to get there, you have to be aware of hand flow, availability, body flow, and all that other kind of stuff. Getting there is not what the solution is. The solution technique is once I get them there, I'm in this position. I now have two friends. I can call Alaman left or slide through square through 3. If I'm in this position and I have, I don't know if I can do end ladies chain diagonally, but I don't know. But you know what I mean. If I've got, let's take a couple numbers off there. If, for instance, I was in this position, then I would call enemy girl, pass through, wheel and deal, center square through 3. If I was in this position, I would call pass through, wheel and deal. Sorry, I would call pass through, wheel and deal, center pass through. Those are your options. And what I'm saying is to simplify it even more, put everybody so that the corner lady is opposite, and you'll be able to do this 100% of the time. Yes, you have to be aware of body flow, as Darren said, as Denise said. Getting to this position is what's important. And all I'm showing you is a technique to get to this position, to have a look at the dancers, and all of your other resolution techniques, regardless of which one you have, are all variations of these particular techniques. Denise, you asked to go over the center box method. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's reset. Let's put the couple numbers back on so everybody can see it. Reset my dancers. Everybody's there so you can see them. Actually, would this be easier if I took the numbers off and just put white and yellow down?
Any way you want to do it. I think there's some newer callers here that would probably prefer to have it where they can see the numbers anyways.
Okay. So you start calling, you've got your brand new caller, and you've got your sequences prepared. So you call heads, square through. I don't know why tracking comes on sometimes. And oops, you were calling, you had something, you wanted to do something else there, you want to do, I don't know, whatever it was, and you were calling and all of a sudden you made a mistake. So you weren't sight calling, you had something prepared and a mistake was made. So
you missed a line on your paper.
Yeah, whatever, however it happened. And now you say, oh my God, what do I do? Well, instead of saying, sorry, I made a mistake, and everybody undo that or back up. No, just go home with your partner. What you can do is say, right, I know the resolution technique. The one I like is the box method. So step 1 of the center box method is to move the dancers to any normalized two-face line. So how do I normalize from here?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I want a
sorry.
standard boy-girl combination. Sorry, I don't have the chat window up because I'm on Taminations. So
Okay, that's fine.
Somebody's waving or saying something, so you have to help me out here by piping in.
All right. Well, the ends are already normalized, so the centers, the girls, the very center two girls run.
Okay.
Well, this is great. Now what? I have no idea.
Center's wheeler deal.
No. Let's do it. What we want to do is we want to just normalize. So, and this is why I say it's important to know your 5 basics: your box, your parallel box, ocean waves, columns, or lines. Learn those 4 because they're the easiest ones to get to pretty much from anywhere.
Do they swear or your outside people facing?
They're facing out. I see that, but I'm just trying to get I was trying to get all the couples normal first. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have just got them into a different formation and then tried to normalize them. All right, so the girls ran, so a bend the line for the centers would be okay.
Here, how about we just undo that and you go ahead.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
But they're in a left-handed ocean wave in the center. So, all right, so how about the ends do a partner trade?
There you go.
Okay, so they're
normal. That ain't it.
Oh, sorry.
Outside's partner trade.
Outside's partner trade. But I don't want them to extend because they'll still be in a lefty, right?
Oh, that's fine.
Oh?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The beauty of the center box method is it doesn't matter if it's left or right. You just want normal. You want to get to. You can be a left-hand two-face line or a right-hand two-face line. So if you wanted to extend from here, not a problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Probably worse than it was before.
See, this is the whole point about you can do this and you'll learn and you'll get your confidence and you'll find out that it doesn't matter. This is why he's doing this whole thing, is so that, you know, right now you feel like you're being put on the spot, and you are, but you'll find that you can still figure this out if you don't worry and don't panic.
Well, he made it so difficult, but that's okay.
Denise, you're actually on track when you did the girls' run. All you needed then was a bend the line and star through, and you were in a trade by formation. So if you continued working with the centers, you would have got out very easily.
Yeah, I saw the bend the line afterwards. I had mentioned it, but it was too late. They changed it. So
that's the beauty of Taminations, Denise. It's never too late. Go ahead.
All right. So where were you? We had the center girls run, right?
Okay. You want all this? You want
just the very center? Just the very center two girls run.
Yeah.
And then they can bend the line because the flow is there.
Yep.
Not everybody,
right.
Just the centers.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the center star through? Actually, yeah. Well, actually.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead and do that. That's fine. And then you could either just have the very outsides do a partner trade, I guess.
Or a trade buy.
Yeah.
Just a trade.
Either one. So he wanted it in that kind of a box, though, right?
Yeah, no. You got to get to two-face lines first. I know you can do it. Yeah, I know you can do it from here, but you got to go through the process.
Oh. But I thought our whole goal was to get to this box. That's where I was confused.
It is. It is. What I'm saying is this is very easy to get to. Getting to this box is easy. What's hard is understanding that if you do this process, it will work every time, because what you're doing is you're saying, I'm doing a shortcut to get to the center box. From here, I could do a girl zoom star through. I could do all sorts of different things to pair up key couples. But the idea of the center box method is to pair up your key couples. So centers, pass through.
That's true.
Right and
Now-
left through, veer to the left.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. I pair up my key couple.
Girls trade.
Okay, so once I've got to a normal two-face line and I've paired up my key couple, the next step of the center box method is to call Ferris wheel.
Oh,
That's it.
okay.
There's nothing else. Now I look and I see, what are my combinations? Is my number one man looking at
Yep.
his corner?
Yes.
If he is,
Pass
And
through, swing
then
through.
I just look to see, are they paired? If they're paired, pass through, swing through, right and left grand, or pass through, swing through, turn through. Right?
So you basically, see, that's why I asked you to go over it again, because I don't use that method at all. But you're telling me that I cannot just get into the double pass through and
No,
I
what I'm
I
saying
have
to
to
you,
go.
yeah, what I'm saying, Denise, is you actually do use this method. You just bypass the first three steps to get there. And then you do your pairing after the fact. It's a variation of this method. And this is where it gets hard. This is where the argument started a couple weeks back and went on, is callers are saying, no, that's the wrong way. That's the wrong way. That's the wrong way. It's not the wrong way. The method that you use, for instance, if I do this, and put us back to where we were, this is where you had them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this, if you got there, all you've done is you've just
That's where I had them. Is that where I had them?
yeah, you've passed
It swapped around, but yeah, basically.
Yeah, but I didn't
Think it's
have all those
focus, right?
calls in there. I didn't have all those calls in there, right?
no. Sorry, I think this is actually where you had them.
But see, you put all those other calls in there now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just to get them back to where they were, Denise.
yeah.
Oh, I know, but now it would be crazy
Yeah,
for
what,
me to
what I'm
say.
saying, yeah, Denise,
It
what
would
I'm
be
saying
crazy
is,
for me to say "girl Zoom" now because you just did 2 Zooms in a row.
yeah, what I'm saying, Denise, is instead of normalizing to a two-face line, pairing up the key couple and calling Ferris wheel, what you've done is you've got them into the double pass-through or the center box method, and now what you're going to do is you're going to pair up your key couple on the outside.
Yeah,
correct?
I would have just said "lady Zoom," but you already did twice. Well, once. And
Okay, so if all you're doing is exactly the same method, you've just taken step 1, 2, and 3 out of the equation. That comes with experience. That doesn't mean that your technique is wrong. Your technique is absolutely right and absolutely perfect because it works for you.
Okay, so basically what you're trying to say is that new callers should
Start
get
at
the
the beginning.
technique down and not worry about if they are already there and they might not see it, just go by that and just keep going to get the technique down
Correct.
first, correct?
That's
Correct.
If I said to a new caller, okay, you're in this position now, resolve. What do I got? I got to pair up my key couple. Okay, well, my key couple is here. If I have the girls Zoom, no, that's going to put them in the middle and not on the outside. And you're putting all that stress on them. If you take them through the process of making a two-face line, pairing up the key couple and calling Ferris wheel, they get in the habit of seeing the paired couple is on the outside. I only have to work with the center 4. I've got 4 possible options. Once they get there and they get experience under their belt, they get to where you are now, which is I can pair up the outside dancers from any double pass-through formation as long as they're normal. If I call ladies, can't spell ladies, but I can say it.
Or you could even have done the men's Zoom because.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, okay.
Now I've got a couple paired up on the outside, and I know from here I can call this, or this. I can call, pass through, swing through, or boys or pass through, right and left through, swing through, right and left grand. That's a variation of it again. That's just taking it to the next step. But if I set it up that I pair up my key couple and put them on the outside, then all you're doing is taking shortcuts to the end solution. And that's where, once you have that base technique down, you're going to see these shortcuts jumping out at you left, right, and center.
Well, I think what I would like to see is you mix them up like you did, but not that hard. Just mix them up a little bit. And then have some of the other newer callers, well, not for me, but have some of the other newer callers chime in. I think you're getting a little bit over their head with some of those crazy formations you put everything in.
Yeah, I know. But I also know it was you. I also know it was you, and I know you've got a lot of experience. So.
Well, I don't really. I haven't even made the 5-year mark yet.
It doesn't matter how mixed up the square is. Whether it's a little mixed up or a lot mixed up, it's still mixed up.
Well, that's true. And he was talking about a mistake happening, which does happen. But I would like to see some of the other new callers that are here give it a try.
Go, Roz.
Oh, God.
Okay,
I must admit, I have.
Oh, and thank you for doing that. Thanks, Mel.
Oh, no worries. That's what this whole session is about, is to actually accept the fact that this is a basic technique. It works. And once you have it, you can build from it. All that stress of resolving the square goes away. Because when you force yourself to use this, you're going to see resolutions that you're going to wonder, why the heck didn't I ever see that before?
Well, if I can mess it up, anybody can mess it up. So that's good.
Hey, you saw in my slide, even I messed it up. When I was doing the PowerPoint presentation, that's not right.
Barry wants some call.
About the boys run.
Okay, who's speaking? I can't see who's speaking.
This is Greg.
Graham, which technique do you want to use?
I would use the two-face line technique.
Two-face line technique? Okay.
A slight variation, which I learned from Betsy.
Okay, but let's do the technique first, and then let's look at your variation.
Well, it's sort of a combination of the two-face line and the double pass-through formation.
Well, then that's not the method.
That is a boys run.
Okay, so the first step in the two-face line is to normalize to a right-hand two-face line. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, I've already messed up. Yes. Okay. Better at. All right.
So get me to a two-face line.
Let's pass the ocean.
Yep.
Okay, now let's have the.
Now let's have what?
Boys run.
Okay, you're in a left-hand two-face line.
That's true. Now the boys circulate.
I want you to get to a right-hand two-face line.
Oh. Really? I can't just Ferris wheel here from here and use the.
You can, but that's not the two-face line method. That's the center box method.
That's what I was saying. So Betsy does something slightly different.
But you want the center box method.
Well, it's sort of a linear. It's sort of a half of what you're calling the two-face line, and half of the what is it? The center box method.
Yeah.
So Betsy would tell us to Ferris wheel from here.
Yeah. Here's the secret. Both of them start move to any two-face line, pair up the key couple, and call Ferris. And then the next one is either called bend the line or Ferris wheel. If you call a Ferris wheel, it's the center box method.
Okay. So yeah, you Ferris wheel, and now.
Okay. And that's the beauty of the.
Now you just pass. Okay. And now you square through 3. The center is square through 3.
Okay, and that's exactly correct.
Yeah.
What you have is not paired enemy girl. Center square through 3. Now the basic technique would be, of course, to put the corner there and then call pass through, which would be right and left through, pass through. Square through 3 does the same thing.
Yeah, you're just stepping outside the actual method that Mel's been talking to us about.
Yeah, what you're calling there is the center box method. They both start exactly the same way. In Denise's case, she got to the double pass-through formation by missing step 1, 2, and 3. And she just saw it, and then she decided to pair up there. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still the same method. You're just getting there differently. In your case, you're just getting there differently. Instead of getting you're following the technique step by step, any two-face line, pair up the key couple, call Ferris wheel. That is the center box method, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then checking the friends and enemies or checking the corner pairing and calling the appropriate get out. That is classic textbook, what you called there, center box resolution.
Okay. So I have a question about the algorithm.
Yeah.
You got to pair up your key couple, and
Yep.
You know, typically you'll get into some two-face line and then do trades and circulates.
Yep.
Now, when I've heard people lecture on relationship calling, they start getting very excited about the fact that people have trouble at that step.
Yep.
And they talk about how they've seen people hunt and peck with the trades and circulates for a long time before they finally land it. And actually that's happened to me. It turned out that the dancers made a mistake and it was asymmetric, and I was trading and circulating, and I just couldn't get a couple paired up. But that's because they became asymmetric. So my question is, are there good ways to try and pair them up? Are there also algorithms to get them paired up? Or do you have to, is it just an art using the trades and circulates?
My answer to this is quite complex, but to try and make it simple, the key essence is to normalize the dancers first. It doesn't really matter what formation they're in. What you want to do is somewhere get them to a place where they're in a familiar formation, that you've got a boy on the left, a girl on the right. As an example, if I do heads lead right, touch 1/4, and girls run. Okay, so we get into some kind of odd abstract formation, regardless of what it is. I'm not worried. What happens in relationship calling is many callers that teach relationship calling don't teach the fundamental principle behind it. They say, well, what you need to do is you need to pair up your key couple, and when you're going to do that, you just pair up the couples, and once you've got them paired, you can put them where you want to. And they don't explain what the whole essence of that relationship is. If I wanted to pair up key couples from here, how would I do it? Oh, I have to do a split circulate, I have to do a circulate, I have to do it. Why would you put yourself through that stress? To understand relationship, the relationship is to pair up the key couple. Take it a step back. Normalize first. If I was to normalize this first, I would call something like girls run. Actually, I would.
I'd have done a circulate first.
Or I could have done a circulate. That's a little bit of overflow for the ladies, but I'm not going to worry about that little bit of overflow right there. Okay, but I've now normalized to a boy on the left, girl on the right. Now what I can do, anywhere I can see my key couple, oh look, they're face to face. They're not in a two-face line, I don't care. If I'm doing relationship calling, I want to make that relationship, so I can do a slide through. Now I have a relationship. Now I can switch to whatever resolution method I want. If I use Denise's example, from here I can get to two-face lines, go through the whole sequence, or if I can use the center box, I can call pass through, wheel, and deal. Zoom. I've got my paired couple on the outside, and my resolution is
square through 3, center square through 3.
Center square through 3. The focus of relationship calling is understanding that the relationship is just a pairing. Once I pair up one couple, another couple is already paired. So I no longer have to worry about it. And if I keep them together, I've only got two options. If they're already normalized, they either have their partner or they don't have their partner. The other.
Sorry, I don't think I was very clear. I mean, so that wasn't quite the question. The question is, supposing I've got them into two-faced lines.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm trying to get a paired couple, or at least my key couple paired. Okay, so I know that, you know, if just a few trades and circulates,
yep,
will do that. And I understand that abstractly, and I can do that with Colorama or with checkers or terminations. But with real people, a whole other matter. And so I was wondering if there's some kind of algorithm, just the way you have an algorithm here for resolving. You can call to be sure that you'll get one paired couple in 1 or 2 steps.
There are, but it looks like Darren either has something important to say or he's having a seizure. So, Darren.
Well, I would say we have those methods. That's the magic modules. Magic modules will pair up a couple every time, guaranteed.
Do you understand what he's saying there, Greg?
No, I don't. I thought I knew the magic modules, but that's about formations.
Yeah. I'm going to take that a step back.
I mean, I do see, for example, that I could just have the boys circulate and pair it up. But what I'm saying is, you know, I happen to see that. That was easy to see. You know, here I'm looking at terminations, but on a dance floor, it's another matter.
Yeah.
There
is nothing, and there is no algorithm whatsoever that will allow you to pair up dancers, key dancers, or anything on a square dance floor with live dancers other than looking to see who's with who at the start and remembering who is with who at the start. And I wish there was, unless you're calling fixed choreography and modular choreography, not sight calling and not sight resolution. The only way to do that is to get used to recognizing who is with who on the floor, and all that practice and time and preparation you put in with your checkers and your dancers and everything else, whichever system you use is going to make it easier for you to pair up key couples. But unless you can actually recognize who is with who, you will never be able to pair up. Because if you don't remember who the key person's partner is, or the key man's partner is, you're never going to be able to pair them up except by elimination and hope.
No, I'm still not expressing myself very well. So supposing I remember that, but you know, I'm, you know, what the thing I'd like to avoid is, I have the centers trade. Oh, that didn't work. Let's have the ends circulate. Oh, that didn't work. Let's have the center circulate. Oh, no, that didn't work. and you know, Jerry Sterry calls it hunting and pecking until you've got a paired couple. And that's something one wants to avoid.
Yeah.
Well, once again, Greg, I'll just say the magic modules from here. It's a bender line at one of the magic modules. You're going to pair up a couple.
Greg, I've got a better suggestion. If you recognize your couples are on opposite sides of the square or something, you always put them so they're facing the same direction, and that way a circulate will bring them together.
Oh, I would say that number one man and lady, I see. So number one man and lady, I see, are facing the same direction.
Yep.
In a different wave or something like that, and you say all 8 circulate, then you're going to bring them together in the same formation. That's always, so they're techniques that sort of help you get people to the same spot, if you like.
Greg, do you know what the magic module is?
Well, there are several of them. I mean, there's the box to line and the line to box, and so I mean, you know, the box to line is swing through and circulate, boys trade, boys run, bend the line. But that's not going to bring them together.
I think what Greg is trying to say is, if the dancers have made a mistake, and I know you'd have to renumber the dancers in termination to show the mistake, how can you get them matched up from there?
The short answer is you can't.
That was what Greg was looking for. He was saying
okay, I misunderstood that. Greg, are you asking?
Hunting and pecking because no matter what he did, he could never get them paired up. Okay, if he finally could get one, the others would never match up. There's always somebody. I mean, if you took like girl 3 and 4 and they had done an extra trade, it might take you a little while to get things going.
But if you can recognize 1 and 4, which are your 2 key ladies, are together or not, or are opposite each other. If they're opposite each other, then they're out. One lot of ladies has made a mistake, and so you can pick those sort of mistakes that way by looking for your opposites.
Okay. I'm going to interject here. I just need to clarify. Greg, were you asking if the dancers make a mistake and they're not symmetrical, how do you move the dancers to, is there an algorithm to get them back symmetrical? Is that what you were asking?
Well, no, I asked earlier in chat and you said that's a whole other discussion. Yeah.
Fixing asymmetrical squares is a whole new discussion.
I know.
Now, as far as hunting and pecking goes, I'm trying to answer the question here. As far as hunting and pecking goes, if that's practice, that's understanding what movements do. For instance, if I need to cross 2 ladies and I'm in an ocean wave, I could call a spin chain through to pair people up. That's understanding what movements do. That has a chain effect, a flutter wheel effect, or all those kinds of things. That just comes with practice and understanding. There is no algorithm that is going to fix that all the time. When Darren is saying the magic module, a magic module will work in pairing up somebody. If they are all mixed up, getting them into a place where you can call a magic module will pair somebody up all the time. And if everybody's paired up, it will unpair. That's another thing that comes with learning and experience. You will learn that later on as you go and develop the techniques. For a brand new caller, the idea is recognize who the key couples are, because you choose them. If you have to write them down, do it. Move them to the 2-face line, and then pair them up and then use the appropriate box or line method. Once you have that down cold, then you can develop the techniques. Getting them to that point is a matter of understanding your movements and what they do and practicing while you're doing it. And the best place to practice that is with your dolls, your checkers, or your computer programs. There's nothing else that is going to substitute putting the hard work in figuring that out. And I can guarantee you, as any caller with more than 5 years experience will tell you, there is a small circuit in microphone that clicks on every time you get live dancers in front of you that sucks everything that you know out of your brain. So that everything you know on a computer and everything you know with checkers will disappear instantly. And it takes a long time to learn how to turn that circuit and the microphone off.
But they do have a special microphone. If you've got $25 million, we'll find your corner every time.
If you got $25 million, you can pay the dancers and they won't care if they never get home. Now, there was a really, really good question that was put in the chat by Mark, which was, these are caller, I'm just paraphrasing here because there was a couple of others. These are resolution techniques, but if you're teaching a new class and you only have a couple of movements, they don't work. Absolutely true. They will not work. If I'm on night 1 and I've only got 5 movements taught, depending on what group, or 10 movements taught, depending on what group, at that point, you should have the ability, if you're going to be moving the dances, you should have the ability to get the dancers back to their partners with the limited number of movements that you have. You're not going to be working resolution techniques, and you shouldn't be losing the squares or mixing them up to any great degree with only 10 movements or 15 movements. Okay, so if I'm on my first night and I'm doing circle left, Alaman left, right and left grand, heads promenade, down the middle, circle halfway back up your home, I'm not going to be losing the dancers. I might do circle left, 3/4 right and left through, dive through, centers pass through, Alaman left. I'm not going to be losing the dancers. Okay. When you start calling, these techniques apply, they can be applied at the basic level and they can be applied at the mainstream level. And I say that because star through, square through is used a lot at basic. I personally don't particularly like it. It's acceptable through having being used for so long, the hands in the right position, but it's still a bit awkward in my own personal opinion. We don't get to slide through until mainstream. Does that answer your question, Mark?
Oh, that was from somebody. I got that question in the chat and was
sorry.
Because I couldn't get a word in edgewise there while you guys were talking, so I figured I'd just send it to you in chat.
Yeah, I don't know who asked the question, and whoever asked that question, did that answer the question? I hope so. Anyway, the floor is open for discussion. Mark, if you wanted to stop recording so we don't have such a big file. One of the things that had been noticed is some of these sessions go on for 8 or 9 hours and they end up being